Here is your full, long, emotional YouTube-style story written in flowing paragraphs, no headings, perfect for a 40-minute narration. When the video opens, tell the viewers this: if you were walking past someone in danger, would you even notice? Tonight's story isn't just shocking, it's the reason you'll never look at a quiet stranger the same way again. Invite them to like and subscribe because what happens at the end will leave them speechless and emotional. The story begins on a rainy Monday morning in the heart of the city. People rushed into the towering glass building of Ardent Industries, umbrellas dripping and footsteps echoing. No one saw the quiet janitor standing near the elevator with his mop and bucket except for those who needed him to clean something. His name was Adil, a single dad raising his 8-year-old daughter, Noor, who waited every afternoon for him at the daycare across the street. He never complained, never made noise, never wanted attention. But he noticed everything. He always had. It was a skill that came from years of surviving silently. That morning, his eyes caught something strange the moment the CEO, Amara Shah, the 35-year-old self-made millionaire, stepped through the front doors. She was a woman feared in boardrooms and admired on magazine covers. Her face was calm, confident, immaculate as always. But Adil saw it immediately. Her hand trembled slightly as she clutched her bag. It wasn't the normal kind of shaking. It was sharp, controlled, almost hidden. Something deeper. Everyone around her smiled, greeted, and hurried to impress her. No one noticed she was breathing just a bit too slowly. No one noticed she blinked longer than usual as she walked. No one noticed her face lose a shade of color each minute. But Adil watched from his corner, heart tightening with a feeling he couldn't explain. Something wasn't right. As she stepped into the elevator with the executives, she forced a smile. Adil hesitated, his hand gripped his mop handle. Part of him said it wasn't his place. Another part whispered something urgent, something he couldn't ignore. When the doors closed, he felt a sudden wave of dread sweep over him. It was the same instinct he had the night his wife collapsed years ago, an instinct that came too late. He wouldn't ignore it again. Minutes later, the elevator doors on the top floor opened, and the executive stepped out laughing about an upcoming contract. But CEO Amara didn't move. She stood frozen, one hand resting on the wall, her eyes unfocused. Everyone assumed she was just thinking deeply. They walked away, busy with meetings and phone calls. That was the moment Adil arrived, breathing slightly fast, having taken the stairs 2 floors at a time. He approached slowly. "Madam, are you okay?" he asked softly. She didn't respond. Her breathing suddenly sped up, then slowed dangerously. He touched her wrist, and his stomach dropped. Her pulse was irregular. Her skin was cold. She whispered, almost inaudible, "I can't breathe." Adil acted instantly. He lowered her gently to the floor, placing her on her side so she wouldn't collapse in a dangerous angle. Her body was trembling now, her breath rattling. He pressed the emergency alarm repeatedly, shouting for help. But he didn't wait for anyone. He recognized the signs. His wife had shown them too, an allergic reaction, or a heart spasm. He didn't care what others thought. He wasn't losing another life. When security rushed in, confused and panicked, Adil took control. "Call an ambulance now. And bring the medical kit from the first aid station," he demanded. The guards exchanged looks, unsure whether to listen to a janitor. But the authority in his voice left no room for hesitation. He checked her airway, loosened her collar, and lifted her chin gently to help her breathe. Her eyes flickered, fear flashing in them. She tried to speak, but her lips barely moved. "Stay with me," he whispered, "you're safe. I promise." The executives finally gathered, whispering and panicking. Some recorded on their phones. Others blamed security. No one stepped forward to help. No one except the man who spent his days cleaning their floors. When the medical kit arrived, Adil didn't hesitate. He found the allergy pen, standard in corporate first aid boxes after 2 employees had severe reactions last year. He checked her neck for swelling. Her pulse was weak, fading. Without waiting for approval, he injected the epinephrine into her thigh. The CEO gasped, body shaking. For a terrifying moment, he thought he was too late. But then she inhaled sharply, once, twice, the color slowly returning to her face. The ambulance sirens echoed through the building minutes later. Paramedics rushed in, but by then Adil had stabilized her breathing enough for them to take over without panic. When they placed her on the stretcher, her fingers reached out, searching. She touched Adil's hand weakly. "You noticed," she whispered. Her voice was so fragile that even the executives fell silent. They stared at the janitor who had seen what none of them did. At the hospital, after hours of treatment, she learned the truth. She had been seconds away from going into full anaphylactic shock. Minutes more and she could have died. The reaction came from a new perfume she tried that morning. The scent included a rare flower extract she was unknowingly allergic to. When Adil visited the hospital later that evening, refusing when offered a car and instead taking the bus with his daughter, he found her awake. Noor shyly held a hand-drawn card that said, "Get well soon." Amara's eyes softened in a way no one had ever seen. She asked Noor to come close, admired the drawing, and thanked her gently. Then she looked at Adil and said words that would change everything. "You saved my life. And not because you had to, but because you cared enough to notice what others didn't." He tried to brush it off, but she continued, voice firm yet emotional. "The world needs people like you in bigger places, not hidden in corners." The next morning, the entire building buzzed with news. Executives who had once ignored him now treated him like he was invisible in a different way, ashamed, humbled, speechless. At a company-wide meeting, Amara stood before the staff, still a bit pale, but strong. She spoke about leadership, about humanity, about unseen heroes. Then she called Adil on stage. The entire hall erupted in applause.